Sunny 93.3. Thank you so much for listening on this Monday morning. I have Jeff Harding from Prairie Real Estate Group with me. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm great, John. How are you?
Fantastic. We've been chatting the last couple weeks here at this time on Mondays and Thursdays, kind of talking about the real estate market in Sioux Falls. One of the questions I have, how do you come up with the right price when it's time to sell a home? If I'm the person selling it, am I the one that comes up with that? Do you help me do that? How does that all work?
Well, I think it's safe to say that everybody has an idea of what they think their property is worth. The problem with that being an exact science is that if you were told 2 years ago or 3 years ago by a bank or an appraiser or another real estate agent what they thought your property is worth, that information is probably obsolete. The market's changed a lot in the last 2 or 3 years. Most people that were told 3 years ago their property is worth X amount of dollars, their property right now is probably worth X times 15%, So, it's like I say, it's not an exact science, but doing a comparative market analysis on any property is a crucial part of coming up with where do we start with a price when we list our home.
And then when you sit down and kind of look at that, if there are other homes in the neighborhood that recently have sold, does that all kind of factor into coming up with the price as well?
Yeah. When we're looking at setting a price or coming up with a reasonable price to start asking for your home, there's a lot of different variables. One of the most obvious is, somebody might say, well, 2 blocks down the street, a house sold just like ours for $210,000. Well, when you get to looking at it, your home might have a double garage and that one had a single garage. Or your home might be a 4-bedroom home and that one was a 3-bedroom home. There are things that need to be adjusted when you're never rarely comparing apples to apples when it comes to this. You've got to figure out what were the differences between that property and yours. Are the differences that in which would add value to your home or detract value based on what they sold theirs for?
Are there any things like when you're out looking at homes and you're helping people to find the right home, have there been times where you'll step inside and you'll think, wow, all of this for only that much? Like you kind of think maybe they priced it wrong?
There is. I mean, there's certain things that we don't get to see with a home. For instance, if you decided to buy a home today and we wrote an offer on it, that offer would likely be contingent on an inspection being done. And we would hire a company to come in and do a home inspection. And they're going to tell you about all the things up in the attic and behind the walls and those things that we didn't see when we walked into a home. So, there are things as far as condition-wise that aren't obvious when you walk into a home. But there are times when you'll walk into a home that's listed for a certain price and there's a wow factor that maybe you haven't been seeing in that price range. Maybe it's the way that the trim's painted white instead of the honey oak color that was popular in the 80s and 90s. Or maybe it's the size of the backyard. Or we recently sold a home that had this huge Four Seasons room addition on the back side of the house. You didn't see that when you drove past the house. Most of the neighbors on the street probably didn't even know it was there. But when you walked in the house and you seen this big, huge room in the back, you're like, wow, this place is huge. It didn't.
It's kind of a game changer then, isn't it?
It is. And so, those things add value to homes. Probably one of the biggest things, though, that's going to factor into this is, you hear location when we're talking about real estate. It's not just the neighborhood you're in. You could have 2 homes in roughly the same 6-block area, and one being a block from the school and one being 6 blocks from the school could add $10,000 difference in the price. So we want to look at all those factors as far as the location, the size of the home, what the comparable homes in that area have recently sold for. What does it come down to with price of square foot? If the price per square foot is higher than what a lot of the recent homes have sold for, that's not a bad thing if you can justify it. If your home has granite countertops and things that those other homes didn't, that all of a sudden that makes sense, So the biggest step is finding a realtor that's willing to come into your home, look at it, walk through it with you, half an hour, and then what they'll do is they'll take the information that they have and take a day or two and they'll put together a comparative market analysis, and they'll sit down with you and tell you, this is what I would offer your home for today. This is where we'd start asking. And that's something that here at Prairie Real Estate Group, we do that for free. We'll look at your home and help you figure out what it would sell for. And many times if you're thinking about selling your home, that's a hard decision to make unless you know what you could likely get for it in today's market. So that's why we do that for free.
Very nice. If you don't have a realtor already, maybe they could reach out and talk to you. Jeff, how do they get a hold of you, sir?
Sure. They can call me at 605-521-3000, or they can go to prairierealestategroup.com and they can contact me through our website.
Very nice. Again, Jeff Harding with Prairie Real Estate Group, and it's our little sunny spotlight on real estate for the Sioux Empire. I've got a link on our Facebook page, and I also have a link on our website. You'll find that at sunnyradio.com.